Now, this is the troll of the entire patch. This is why everyone's really pissed off about this patch, which is Glaceon got a buff. Glaceon was already really good. So Chandelure's bug fix, if you weren't aware of it because you play on mute, in that when it used in prison, I think it was in prison, the noise that came out of your TV would just like kind of infuriate me. So I'm really glad that they fixed that. So let's run through the exact numbers of this patch. I know I'm a day late, but I'm just going to share my thoughts. And I do like doing these a little bit later because Unite DB, the Math Cord Society, help crunch the exact numbers because we get like a little vague overview from the game itself. I like these exact numbers. So let's get straight into it. Patch 1.9.2.8. A lot of people saying it is like the worst patch they've ever seen come to the game. I don't think it's the worst. I think there is good and I think there is bad. The good is good and the bad is bad. We'll start off with the good. Comfey is finally nerfed. Comfey needed to be nerfed so badly. It was just an absolute joke. I was jumping on the Comfey train and just eating some food while playing and getting a free win. Like it was just getting out of hand. So pretty much everything about Comfey got nerfed. Floral Healing got a pretty significant nerf, I'm going to say here. Like the shield drops, a lot of the base stats have dropped quite a bit, and the ratio has dropped. So that's quite significant. Magical Leaf Stunning, thank you, has dropped, and that's quite significant as well. And the damage is a lot less. Not that it really did much damage anyway. But the stunning, good, is a lot lower. The Unite move has been lowered as well with all of the healing effects, as outlined here. So that's really, really good. I'm a big fan of what they've done with Comfey. They've clearly listened and they know that this Pokemon's out of control and they've done something about it, which is awesome. Psyshock getting a nerf, still deserving. Is it big? Probably, honestly, probably not that big. It's only on Psyshock. Espeon's still going to be one of the best characters in the game. Gets that level 4 evolution. Really, really strong. Now, I love some of these reading through. So Lapras, let's see. Blue, lots of AoE, unique trait on your night move, tanky, self-sustained, CC, broken passive. Where have I seen this before? Lapras is a Pokemon that is a little bit out of control, and so I'm glad that they have decided to nerf it. I don't think the nerf is like much, but it's something. Okay, it's something. Now, Cinderace, this is, oh my god, I'm so excited for this massive, massive buff. Okay, Pyroball, you can ignore Pyroball. We can ignore that. Okay, if you're using Pyroball, you're probably not playing Cinderace properly. Cinderace goes really, really well with Blaze Kick and a Flame Charge. I think that's the better move set. However, they have buffed this move set because they realize how good the other move set is and they're trying to kind of match it. Maybe it's going to get to a point where it becomes playable. But this is the big thing. The Unite cooldown is heaps lower. Now, if you've played Cinderace before, that is the biggest thing was his Unite move was just, it had such a big cooldown that you could use it maybe 3 times in the entire game. Now, also, he's unstoppable while he's casting. This is, I cannot tell you the amount of times I've used the Unite move with Cinderace and it is not casted. So this is such a big, I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited. Sizzle got a pretty nice buff. He absolutely needed it. It was probably the worst, one of the worst Pokemon to use. But it's got its buff. And honestly, I haven't played much Sizzle. I'm not a big fan of Sizzle. Especially, I just think there's too much backline mage. That what Sizzle does really well is he will buff his defense rather than his special defense with all of the bullet punching. However, he actually does have quite a good base special defense. So who knows? Okay, maybe you could work him well with Mystical Fire, Sylveon, and Solo Q if you want to duo with those two, and you might have a lot of fun because you've got the physical reduction to taking damage, and then you've got the Mystical Fire onto the mages when they're trying to do damage to you. Maybe he might be, quite a bit of fun to use as a duo there. But really good buff. I'm super glad for that. I feel like Goodra didn't need to get touched. I feel like it didn't need to get touched. Having that Unite move more often is, I feel it's maybe a touch unnecessary. I feel like Goodra is in a healthy spot. But I'm not going to complain because making these adjustments with a patch just means that it might shift the meta a little bit and we might see more Goodra, and then maybe that Unite move more frequently will cause problems to certain picks. So I don't know. I don't really mind how that changes everything. Now, this is the troll of the entire patch. This is why everyone's really pissed off about this patch, which is Glaceon got a buff. Like, Glaceon was already really good. Glaceon was already used in the competitive scene in multiple regions, and Glaceon Icicle Spear was also being picked. Now they've gone ahead and just absolutely smash it with a big buff for whatever reason. Reduce the cooldown. Okay, whatever. I'll live with that. But the damage is just like it is significant, and you will jump on into solo queue and everyone is using Glaceon because it is not needed. It is not needed. But the winner is the Ice Shard attack speed increase. Now, Glaceon late game has insanely high attack speed. If you weren't aware of that, when you get to level the difference between level 12 and level 14 with Glaceon is really, really big because you get a lot of attack speed. However, you're going to get a huge attack speed nice and early every time you use Ice Shard because, when you just unlocked it, it honestly, it gave you a little bit of a boost, but now it's like crazy. Now it's like Cinderace Blaze Kick crazy, like Blaze Kick plus crazy, instead of just like having an extra muscle band crazy. So I think it's a bit out of control. And they've increased the duration of it. Again, I could have lived with just the increase of duration. But yeah, they've gone mad with this. I just think it's just not needed. And this is why everyone's really angry and really upset and saying it's the worst patch. This right here, Glaceon, should not have been touched, and it is just like well out of control in every single lobby I've played in. I honestly don't even have an answer to it right now. I'm trying to brainstorm. So I don't know, maybe Mystical Fire Sylveon, but there's a lot of burst. I don't know. Ninetale's got a really awesome buff. The cooldown to Blizzard means that you can use it with Avalanche at the same time. Because normally this moveset wasn't getting used because you'd Avalanche and then Blizzard, and then the Avalanche would go on cooldown, but then you'd have to wait like 2 or 3 seconds to get the Blizzard to go on cooldown again. So you couldn't really use the two skills in sync. Now you can do that, which is quite nice. As well as that, they have increased the CC, which is definitely noticeable. I'm kind of getting sick of versing them in lane. So I actually kind of hope the usage of Ninetales doesn't pick up, because I've always thought Ninetales is a really strong mon. It's just a little bit hard to use because it doesn't have great mobility, but that's where you've got to have good positioning and map awareness and all of that stuff. They've reduced the cooldown of the Unite move as well, which is great. Lucario had a bug fix, wasn't aware. So Chandelure's bug fix, if you weren't aware of it because you play on mute, in that when it used Imprison, I think it was Imprison, the noise that came out of your TV would just kind of infuriate me. So I'm really glad that they fixed that. Gengar and Dodrio bug fixes as well. Okay, and this is why I like the math chord, because we get to Zacian and they say, hello people who read all of the patch notes, or if you just Control F and look for Zacian, he didn't get touched. Does Zacian need a nerf? Yes, Zacian needs some slight nerf. Okay, the nerf on Comfey will make Zacian less powerful, because typically Zacian and Comfey, they hold hands really well. Comfey just enhances Zacian better than he enhances most other Pokemon in the current meta. But did it need a nerf? I think it should have been touched. I think it should have had a slight nerf. However, they've handed out a couple of buffs around the place, and so keep in mind that when you buff other Pokemon and you don't touch the remaining Pokemon, those remaining Pokemon get a little worse. So just do keep that in mind. Although he's not getting touched, if everything else kind of gets slightly better, then in essence he's slightly worse. But I really hate that logic, because we should just nerf him a little bit. Oh, one last thing before I forget. What they have sneakily done, which is not talked about in here, because really it's actually got nothing to do with the Pokemon. It's got to do with the jump pad. If you hovered over onto the enemy side of the map and one of the enemies used the jump pad, you would see them springboard away. You wouldn't really know the direction, or maybe you could. I don't know. I wasn't that good at reading it, but they've removed that, which is really, really annoying because I used to love scouting that out for information. So that's honestly, that kind of sucks. There you have it. That's our take on the patch. I think there are some good components. There are some bad components.